She has about 30 digital touch points. Yeah. And we're taking into account OTT and Amazon advertising, email marketing, Google business profiles. And I think that that's something that, again, makes us really unique as an agency as well, too, is how involved the executive team is with the day-to-day of each client. We're human. People make mistakes. Things are going to happen. I would rather try ideas that fail than not try anything at all. I think that if there's one thing I would want all of our clients to always know is that we constantly are having these conversations in-house.
My guest today is Denise Galiatsatos, the proud president and chief operating officer of PC Digital, a full-service digital marketing agency specializing in automotive digital advertising. She is passionate about helping dealerships discover their brand voice and strategizing with the internal PCG team on how to bring those brand messages to shoppers' eyes. By developing and producing the automotive social media sales funnel in 2017, she has also helped dealerships all across the country maximize their ad spend on Facebook and Instagram to deliver a great ROI. Denise is also a professional public speaker, an educator, and became an international speaker when she educated attendees at the World Shopper Conference in Portugal. Her speaking career has also grown outside of the automotive industry. She was a keynote at the 2018 Association of Directory Publishers Convention. Her book, Can You See Me Now?, takes readers on a journey to fully understand and utilize the digital marketing landscape. Denise is also a 40 under 40 award recipient for the state of New Jersey. Now, her greatest accomplishments and pride and joy are her two daughters, Summer, age 4, and Georgia, age 2. Denise, her husband, and their 2 children live along the Jersey Shore. And her most recent hobbies include all things Disney princesses, arts and crafts, Play-Doh, and Goodnight Moon. I can't top that. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I think that really, says where I'm at this stage in my life right now.
Listen, it's as I have 2 children. They're a lot older, but I remember the days of Play-Doh and princesses and arts and crafts. It's a rite of passage.
It is for sure, for sure. Yeah, that's the bio now. It'll get updated every couple of years, but that's where I'm at today. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Your priorities are perfectly in order.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So before we jump into some, stuff that I want to talk about, I want you to give, the listeners, the viewers, tell us more about PCG Digital, if I can say that.
Yeah.
I know it's, you guys specialize in automotive digital advertising, but tell us something, that wasn't covered in the intro.
Yeah. So PCG Digital is a full service digital marketing agency. And just like you said, our clients, we stay in the realm of the automotive industry. But PCG Digital is a company within a company, right? So we're all under this umbrella of PCG companies or the Pash Group. And we're founded by Brian Pash and his brother Glenn Pash, who is the CEO of the organization. And we all kind of run a piece of the organization. So I oversee the digital agency, which is about 40 team members and currently today about 150 automotive URLs, which is great. And it's been, a great journey and a whirlwind. I've been at the company almost 10 years. I started as a social specialist working on accounts and kind of, took my career in other places, speaking, writing, all of that. But, the core, and I think what's great is that even as we've grown through the years at the company and taken on more clients and of course advanced our strategies, we still stay very true to that culture of when we were maybe, 20 people in an office in New Jersey. So, I think that that's what really makes us stand out for sure.
So you have dealerships all around the country, right?
Yeah.
Right. And are you guys in every state? I'm just curious.
Yeah, we'll work with every state. But what's great about us as a company is we won't work with a competitor of one of our dealers. Right. So if we have somebody come to us that say, hey, we'd like to talk to you about, search engine marketing, and we work with the competitor in their area, we can't work with them. We stay very, true to our dealers, right? Because, it would get into a kind of a sticky situation. But since our company has many other aspects of it, we will refer that person over to another side of the company. Maybe they need some lead handling help with our CEO. Maybe they want to attend one of our events. That's fine. We kind of, have a lot that we can, really offer in that aspect.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I'm intrigued by the automotive social media sales funnel.
Mm,
So you first did that in 2017, right?
yes, yes.
Now that's 7 years ago, which in digital age is late years. And it was Facebook and Instagram. Then
Hmm.
how, now there's TikTok, Snap, and so on.
Yep.
So tell us about, where that is in terms of versioning, if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah. So the auto social sales funnel really changed everything. It was, we used to look at social media as more or less like a digital billboard years ago, back then, right? Where it was, hey, put $200 behind a campaign, let it circulate through Facebook. Then, of course, Instagram came into play. But what happened was, after Facebook had kind of rolled out their concept of the pixel, as they call it today,
Mhm.
what I realized was that we could create audiences based off of what people were doing on the website and serve them ads targeted to where they were in their journey, which comes into play today very big with first party data. So we were creating dealerships data essentially back then, and we didn't even really realize it. What we know today now is we were creating banks of data for our dealers. And so, where obviously there's been so many, versions or, it's been tweaked all these years, right? But where we stand today is the funnel concept is kind of getting outdated. And I'm working on a new white paper with our paid media director, Sarah, and it's now going to be the life cycle marketing because we can't really
Mm.
put our customers in funnels anymore. Obviously, the funnel's big, we shoot them down and then it ends. But when we think of a life cycle, that turns into retention, loyalty, bringing consumers back. So that's where we're tweaking it today. And the whole thing that's been fun about writing this life cycle white paper is we're putting a person's journey into play. So it's almost written as like a story. And you realize how many digital touch points this person gets. Her name is Maggie. And she basically is the star of the story. And through the story, you're reading and you're seeing, I think she ends up with maybe like 30 digital touch points before she converts and buys the car. So that's a whole way that, the auto social sales funnel is phasing out and we're bringing it now to a life cycle and talking about all the digital touch points, not just Facebook, Instagram.
Mm. Did I hear you right? You said 30 touch points?
She has about 30 digital touch points. Yeah. And we're
Wow.
taking into account OTT and Amazon advertising, email marketing, Google business profiles. Like we're really, not just focusing on social media with this life cycle paper, but the whole journey of how many touch points a person can have.
Yeah. On the path to purchase, basically, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Hopefully, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. I don't know. I have to admit, I don't know how that compares to other industries in terms of how many touch points we go through as consumers, but I can't imagine there's many that have that many.
Well, you think about it, you're not really purchasing the car online, right? And there's so
Mm.
much research that has to go in with buying a vehicle. You're comparing it to different makes and models, which you'll read about in that, as Maggie does when the story comes out. You're, doing a lot more learning. And as you're doing that learning and as you're searching, you're then being served advertisements based off of what you've been searching by multiple
Mm.
dealerships, by the OEM. So it kind of goes into all of that. And it's pretty unique the way that it, turned out. Now we made her shopper journey fairly short because we couldn't have a 50-page, report on just this woman
Right.
researching vehicles.
Right.
But it was really interesting that when I sat and wrote it out, that was my piece. And then Sarah, the paid media director, went through and picked out all the touch points. It was like, okay, wow, like this is quite a lot of touch points that somebody can have when purchasing a vehicle.
Interesting. Wow. That's amazing. I'm a marketer, at heart, and I'm always interested, when I talk to someone who's so knee deep into a specific industry like automotive, and how that compares and contrasts to other industries like retail. Right.
Right.
So it's just, it's fascinating. I want to move on to something about the workplace, specifically growth in the workplace. And I know one of the things you and I talked about offline was how being a leader from the start, can help you, excel and expand to new roles. Walk us through that, how that benefited you.
So I think that, a lot of people right away, when they think of a leader, they put a title behind it, always in the workplace. But, you can be a leader just by, putting your voice out there, giving feedback when asked for feedback. How many meetings have you been in or conducted where you're like, does anybody have any feedback? And no one says anything. It's like nothing. So, one of the things that was always beneficial for me when I started, really advancing my career was if I had a thought or if I had something to say, I would say it. And I'm a pretty confident person in that type of aspect. And I know that that can be hard for people, but it doesn't have to be in front of a whole group. You can really become a leader, even with like a small team, right? And really kind of, help people think outside the box, whether you're working on a project together or whether you're working on a client and, really voicing, what you think should be done with the client and taking it kind of from there. And I think that that's, something that when I think about, my career and how I got to the place, where I did today, I really, even if I was only working with a small group of people, I never held back from saying, well, maybe we should try it this way, or what do you think? Or, oh, I have an idea here. And I think that, one of the things that people should remember is you really don't need a title to be a leader, right? You can be a leader just by, helping somebody with something that they're working on or, like I said, bringing ideas to the table. And I think that that's what really always helped me, through my career journey.
I could not agree more with you about the society. You don't have a certain title. Well, then you're not expected to quote unquote be a leader or do leadership things, whatever. I don't even know what that means. Mm-hmm. We can all be leaders and,
right.
If for nothing else, by example.
Exactly. Yeah. And, I think one of the things that I've loved about leading the digital team is I always am looking for more people to be leaders. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room that just, it just wouldn't work. We wouldn't grow. Right. And I think that, one of the things that, really proud of about at the agency is always, giving people a chance to give that feedback. What do you think? What do you think we should do? Or, when we have a challenge come up with a client, right? And, I'm the one who gets called where it's like, okay, this happened. Well, what do you think we should do? Let me hear your idea first. Okay, let me add in this piece. And we're working it out together all the time. And I think that that's something that, again, makes us really unique as an agency as well, too, is how involved the executive team is with the day-to-day of each client. When you sign on with us, it's not that you never talk to me or never see the CRO again. We're all working together on the client's behalf.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of leadership, there was something else that you said to me offline, which I love, and I cannot wait to get into these two specific things you talked about, and they are so resonating with me. The first one is, and it falls under the kind of the guise, if you will, of a leadership quality, right? But it's really applicable to anybody. And the first one you said to me was listening more than speaking.
Yeah.
That is so important for all of us. In and out of work for that matter, but we won't go down that path right here. But listening more than speaking, I think it's even more imperative as a leader.
It is. And it truly is something that I have to work on every day because I get very excited when, the team comes to me or we're talking about things and I get excited and I want to shoot out all my ideas. But I realize the more that I sit back and listen, the more comfortable the team becomes talking more to me about subjects, bringing things to the table. And then I could sit and ponder on that. And then we can come to a decision together, right? Mm-hmm. I'm realizing that being the best leader I can be is listening and then taking time to make a decision. I used to be very quick with the way I did things and I was successful doing that for a long time. And as the, agency is growing and as my brain is getting more filled with things from day to day, mm-hmm. my own personal life and everything, I'm realizing I can't make decisions as quick as I used to. And that's okay. It's okay to take a minute, to take it all in, to look at everything, to read. I'll always say to the team, stand by. That's my favorite thing to say, stand by. And they know I need a minute. Let me think about it. I will always get back to people, but I'm learning more that it's okay to, take a day to really ponder on something so that you are giving a better response than being too quick.
I'm curious, do you think there's a correlation between that and having two young children in terms of your decision-making changes?
Definitely. Yeah. Because, when you become a parent, your brain is not just focused on anything that you're doing anymore, as you know, right? When you're sitting at the workplace, you're thinking, okay, what are we going to have for dinner? So-and-so has soccer at 5. We're going here. So-and-so is acting weird this morning. Do you think they're getting sick? And you're just, how it is as a parent. You're just sitting thinking about these things all day long, and your brain is just so, like it's trying to overcompensate all the time, right? When you're
Mm-hmm.
working and you're making decisions and you're thinking of the kids. And I actually had somebody in our industry who she owns a company called Digital Airstrike. And before I got married, I was out in Arizona where her company is. And she said to me, she goes, when you have a child, you're going to become the best worker that you've ever known, because you really, truly have to prioritize your time. You have to think better. You can't, constantly be moving in this overstimulated environment. And it was the best advice, honestly, anybody's ever given me, to be honest, about becoming a parent and working. And so I really, truly practice that constantly. Let me take a breath. Let me think about it. Let me have some patience with the subject. And it's been working pretty well in my favor thus far. So
as a parent, like you mentioned, and my kids are much older, but it absolutely forces you, and I mean that in a good way, to practice patience in the workplace, especially when it comes to decision making. And I really, really believe that, even subconsciously, it permeates.
Yeah, I think that, it also makes you a little softer too. Like I've always had a lot of patience. And I think even prior to having the kids, I always was very understanding, but even more so, we're human. People make mistakes.
Yep.
Things are going to happen, even, when somebody says, I haven't heard from this client and I've been emailing them, give them a minute. They will get back to you. It kind of does give you that whole different perspective on just everything.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, sorry for the interruption. We're going to get back to our show in one quick second, but stay with me. If you're in the need for anything SEO and or link building related, you need to do yourself one quick favor. You need to go to the website that's on the screen right now, stanventures.com. Go there, tell them Steve O sent you. The rest will take care of itself. Trust me, you can thank me later. The other thing I wanted to bring up that you mentioned to me offline was the understanding the difference between a brainstorming session and decision making, where we're just talking about. But there is a world of difference, and I've been more than my fair share of both brainstorming and decision making. But tell me why this is important to you. What do you want to get across to the audience when it comes to these two different things?
Yeah, as a leader, it's very important for us to understand that difference for a number of reasons. So, when you're the leader, you really have to take care of your mind constantly. Like we said, make sure you're being slow, making decisions properly instead of rushing. When people are in that venting or that brainstorming session, what we tend to do as leaders is we start to take in every piece and try to right away look for a solution. And I think that that's something that's, again, I have to work on it all the time too, is understanding, is this a brainstorming? Is this an event, or are we looking for a decision here? Because sometimes people come to you, they don't really need a problem solved, and that part of your brain doesn't need to be activated in that moment. You can just sit back, and listen. I think what's very, smart for leaders to do too is really understand that there are going to be meetings that it's just people talking and brainstorming, and you can get a running doc going, take notes. I'm usually the note taker. That's what I like to do in the meetings. I don't have somebody who does it. I sit there, I take the notes, and then I'll read over them and then say, okay, maybe we could do this. Maybe we can make a decision about this. And really putting timelines in place too. We don't have to be, when we're trying to put things in place for long-term growth and success, the number one thing is always making sure you're understanding between the brainstorming, the decision making, and then making sure that you are putting reasonable timelines in place too. But that was something that I had to learn when I, took over my role. I was put in my role to kind of, reshape the culture, the operations at the company. And as I was talking to everybody who I had worked with already for years, you think when people are sitting and they're just, giving it all to you, I have to solve all these problems. You don't have to solve every problem. It's your job as a leader to kind of take which ones are the most important, make sure your team's voice is being heard, and make sure that they feel that, progress is being made.
Yeah, as one who sat in, like I said earlier, a lot of brainstorming sessions, whether it's a participant or the leader, it's so important, especially as a leader, to kind of set the ground rules. And I would always say, here's the ground rules. There are no ground rules.
Right.
Throw everything out, because the last thing you want as a leader, at least this is how I felt, and I'm sure you're going to agree, the last thing you want is someone sitting in the corner of the room who's too afraid to say something. It could have been $1 million idea.
Exactly. Yep. And, it's a fine line for leaders to have to kind of, find that sweet spot, right? Because there are people that don't want to contribute, and that's okay too. You shouldn't really be forcing everybody to do it, but you also want to make sure that if somebody does have that $1 million idea, that they are comfortable enough to bring that to the table for sure.
Right. And it's a non-judgment zone.
Yeah.
Very important.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just, I think we had a marketing meeting today, and our owner, Brian Pash, he's a great leader, not just for the industry, but for our company as well, too. And he said, we were talking about, the success of certain things or whatnot. And he's right. He was like, I would rather try ideas that fail than not try anything at all. And I mean, I've worked with him for almost, 10 years, and he constantly has to remind, all of us of that, keep taking it forward, jump in, don't be afraid to do it. And then it's my job to make sure that the rest of the company feels that as well, too.
Exactly. And that is, I can't tell you how important that is for it to come from the top down.
Yeah.
To go, no, we're going to take risks. We're not going to hit a home run, but that's okay.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it even goes in like when you're client facing too. We're not going to be for everybody. Not everybody's going to want to work with us. Not everybody's going to like us. But the people that do work with us and do want to be with us, we want to make sure that we are, internally, making the best decisions that is going to then, reach out to their, external, the clients. So
yeah.
I think that if there's one thing I would want all of our clients to always know is that we constantly are having these conversations in-house.
And that's real important that they know that. Right. And to remind them of that. So
for sure.
Kudos for doing that. Pivot to marketing strategies. And this was fascinating to me. You said something to me about turning a view into a conversion and loyal customer. And when I read it like 3 times, I went, wait, turning a view into a conversion and loyal customer. Like, all right, I got to hear this secret sauce, right? Like what? And you may be, that may be your $1 million idea. So you might not want to share. Right? Because
imagine we hear it here first.
Right? And someone steals it and neither one of us get any credit. But the operative word, Denise, when you said it to me was view, like taking a view into a conversion. Okay. Well, then my first thought was, all right, there's the funnel or the life cycle, however you want to call it, because everybody starts with a view, but then getting that into a conversion and then loyal customer. So elaborate on what you meant by that term.
Yep. So, it has to start somewhere, right? And if we're thinking of now, we're getting rid of a funnel, we're thinking of a life cycle, it's got to start somewhere. It's a view. From a digital standpoint, from a billboard standpoint, we want to talk about, TV, radio, magazine, it's always the viewing first. And the first time you meet somebody, the first impression is everything. And that goes for the digital touch point as well, too. The first impression is everything. I think what would be smart for everybody to constantly remember, even in this data-driven world, and that's, what this white paper is about, is that there is a persona, there is a person behind the view, behind the click, behind the data. We have this amount of people looking at the website, blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that really heavily has to continue to come into play is branding. Branding is everything. And, we are when it comes to digital, we're at such an even playing field, all of us, with how we can, get across to people. It's in the realm of automotive, we're not in a world anymore where if you're going to get the best billboard space on the highway, that's how everybody's going to know you and come, see your dealership. We're at an even playing field. Get your name out there on social media, everything that you need to do, invest some money into pay-per-click, all of that. So, but it all still stems down from a branding standpoint of why should somebody buy from you? So when you think of that concept of a view, then how are you following up to that view? How are you utilizing that data? What are you serving them next based off of where they were and where you think they're going to go into their journey? And that kind of goes then again into that lifecycle marketing and all those touch points is where are you sending your consumer next with then getting them to convert on your website?
Interesting. I want to play devil's advocate for a second if I can.
Sure.
So turning a view into a conversion, I get that, right? Loyal customer. Now, when I hear that, my first thought goes to, okay, what's marketing's role in creating a loyal customer? Isn't a loyal customer doesn't want to become a loyal customer based on the product or service that they get from a given brand, not necessarily from the marketing thereof. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So how does marketing and, customer, how does it connect those dots?
I love this question. So when you have somebody that converts with you, right? And it's like, okay, purchase is done. How do we keep people coming back for more? Now we have to think of my realm is automotive. You purchase a car, people, I'm like a once every 8 years kind of gal. I'm not, I'm not coming back to buy a car, but we have other realms of the dealership. There's oil changes, there's service, there's, vehicle
Tune-ups.
acquisition, vehicle acquisition, which is a huge one too, right? When you're
Yeah.
ready to, go to your next car, is your dealership saying to you, hey, we'll buy back your vehicle. You don't even have to purchase from us again, and that's when people keep getting those touch points, even after they've converted, it helps them stay loyal to the brand. Now, in the realms of dealerships too, we always encourage our dealers to do events at the dealership too. During the holidays, Toys for Tots. We have a dealership in California that's doing trunk or treat, and parents are always looking for things to do with their kids. Prior to COVID, I feel like the dealerships we worked with used to do so much more. We used to have a dealership in Albuquerque, New Mexico that would have like a bounce house every Saturday. Hey, come test drive a car and your kid's going to be in a bounce house for the couple of hours. People were like, oh yeah, I'll come test drive a car, and it helped brand them in that light. But, it just doesn't stand for automotive. It can be for anything. What makes people coming back to you to keep purchasing from you? It's the quality. It's what you're selling them has to give them a feeling, like a good feeling, to keep coming back for more. And I think social media makes that very easy for brands today, right? Because for them to follow you on social, it doesn't cost them anything. And if you're producing good quality content that makes people laugh, makes them feel good, lets them know what's going on, they're always going to remember you by that, and even if they're only purchasing a car every 5 to 6 years, you're keeping them in that loyal bucket by, giving them good quality content to follow and watch.
Well, you connected those dots beautifully.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
You're welcome. No, you did.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
No, absolutely. It was so even I could understand how. Last thing, I want to be able to tell people where they can find your book. Can you see me now? Where can people get that?
So you can go to, actually, you could email me, Denise at PCGcompanies.com. I'm pretty sure we have it listed still on the website as well, too, PCGdigital.com. But you can always connect with me on LinkedIn or shoot me an email and I could get you a copy.
Awesome. And then the automotive, now it's called the Lifecycle Marketing funnel, right? Not social media sales funnel.
The Lifecycle Marketing white paper. Yep. That's what we're calling it right now.
And then people can also reach out to you about that as well.
Yeah, we're going to be releasing it. So our company hosts 2 conferences a year. We have our last one of this year, the Modern Retailing Conference, is coming up this November in Palm Beach. So if you are an automotive dealership that's listening, I would love for you to reach out to me to get a discount code and learn more about the event. But we will be releasing the white paper during the event. And Sarah and I are speaking at the event as well.
I love it. Well, Denise, it has been an absolute treat.
Yeah.
I knew it would be from the first time we met. And it's like, yeah, I've known this woman for 30 years.
That's a huge compliment. Thank you very much. That's a big goal of mine, is to always make sure people feel like they're, feeling comfortable and we can talk. So I appreciate that.
I feel the exact same way. So again, thank you for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome.
Hey, I'm the guy from the video you just saw. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Now do yourself a favor. If you haven't already, subscribe to our content. Believe it or not, unconfirmed rumors and reports, you will see an increase in 20% in organic traffic just by subscribing. Okay, maybe not, but it's fun, right? But do yourself a favor, really. Subscribe to our content. You won't be sorry. Thanks.